Alright, with no further ado, this is the Silent K. And today we're going to be playing MegaMek, and we've got Gribbly with us from across the pond. If you'd like to say hello to the people on YouTube.
Hello YouTube. Yeah, Gribbly, MegaMek fan, and I'm watching the stream, I'm quite enjoying it. And Silent K is quite gratefully, quite nicely allowed me to play the op for one of his scenarios.
Alright. So, just a quick overview of the forces. I'm going to be bringing a modified Warhammer, a couple modified Urban Mechs, standard Panther, a modified Rifleman, a Griffin 1S, which has the large laser, medium laser combo instead of the PPC, a Stalker Mark II with the double heat sinks, a Demolisher, a Saladin, a pair of Savannas for scouts, and 2 platoons of foot LRM infantry. And we'll be going up against 4, is that platoons or is that squads, or how are those measured?
Those are squads, yeah.
Okay, 4 squads of Achilles light battle armor, a Marauder 4M, an Orion ON1KA, which I don't actually know, Gribbly, if you were aware, but I actually already had an Orion 1KA variant in my stream, which is a lower tech variant. It just replaces the, I think it replaces the LRM 15 with an LRM 10 and some heat sinks. This is not the same model. This has pulse lasers and other things. We have a Thunderbolt 7M, a Wolverine 6MA, an Apollo, an Ost Scout, 2 squads of Phalanx battle armor, a couple APCs, and some support laser foot platoons. We'll be playing on a agreed upon map, which should look something like this, with light woods, light elevation, some water. Pretty standard, typical map. We are going to be playing with a couple of options that are different from what I have been doing on the stream. Notably, we are going to be playing double blind. We're going to be doing simultaneous fire to speed up gameplay. And we'll also notably be using the standing still TAC Ops rule, which gives you a -1 to the difficulty of anyone shooting at you on any turn that you don't spend movement points. So, with no further ado, I'm ready to proceed. As agreed upon, I'll be deploying to the north. Gribbly will be deploying at the south end of the map. Looks like I've won initiative for the deployment phase. And we're each going to be designating 1 hex towards the, well, on the board, not right on the edge, as our objective that we're trying to protect or capture or control.
Okay, shall we designate that before we start deploying?
Absolutely, yes.
I can't remember, is it possible? Can you do like a right click and add like a text notification to a hex?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can right now, because I guess it's waiting on me to deploy, but I can right click on a hex, and under special hex display, I can create or edit a note. And I think...
Okay, so I've picked mine mentally, so I can, shall I say, or do you want to pick yours first?
I'll go ahead, and I think I picked mine. I think I'm going to go with 2111.
Mine's 1726.
Alright, who should see this? I guess everyone done? Alright, so you said 17... I see a little yellow spot on 1725. Was that the hex you said?
Oh, I said 1726. Sorry, I meant that one.
Alright, so 1725, that little patch of rough. And I've got some heavyweights over here. Alright. I think I'm going to start by deploying probably a pair of urban mechs to just move up and hold that point. Oh, bother. Oh, okay. And I've already misclicked. I put my Warhammer where I was not trying to put my Warhammer.
How far away? How bad is it?
I hadn't actually picked a spot for my Warhammer yet. I was trying to place an urban mech and accidentally put my Warhammer down instead.
Okay. I mean, we can always say like the first round if you want to. I mean, is it close enough that you can run over there
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the first round?
Yeah.
If everyone else has a cigarette break. Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
No, I mean, I can rock with this. This is fine.
Yeah, I really wish there were commands to actually move things like that. Especially considering I don't think things like the amphibious equipment for vehicles is implemented. And that would be really nice if you've got the designs that have that equipment. Like if you move them onto a river, it would be really nice to be able to move them, manually because,
All right.
It is a very open map in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's not what I was expecting.
There's kind of a killing field just right there from about the 14-15 line down to the about the 22-23 area.
This is the first time I've used 0.48, and I like the new map, the map tiles. It looks quite nice.
That's gonna be on the client side. I might actually not be looking at the same map you are.
Okay.
Because I remember when I first loaded up 48, I was actually a little disappointed that it didn't look like it was used to, and so I found the client setting to change the graphics and made it look like I think 47 did. And actually, I'm using the same tile set now in 49 in my side game.
Okay.
It's in the same menu where you find things like the heavier border linings for elevations and things like that. It's
Right.
let's see, under client settings, there's a tab for graphics, and there's all kinds of options there. There's an option for floating isometric, which I don't know why anyone would use that. It takes away the sides of the hexes where there's elevation.
Yeah. I mean, apart from the game options, I haven't changed. I've not changed any of the client side stuff because I'm literally just installed.
First game, yeah.
I think it's on Friday.
Well, maybe we should have kept the mountain in because we've got some really long sight lines here.
Yeah, no, I did put the mountain as low, but I guess there's maybe a probability.
Yeah.
You always get it. This isn't quite the same as the previews that we both saw, but I guess yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh. Gunning it, huh? I think I can appreciate the optional rule that requires a piloting roll for vehicles flanking, because honestly, without that, these Savannah Masters would be even more broken than they already are. God, these things are
Yeah.
so fast. I wasn't even like planning to spam them because I know in some circles the popular meta is to just load up on loads of Savannah Masters and just ram the heck out of everything. But
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty cheesy.
that's one of those things that the kind of opponent that will do that may not get the number of games that they would hope for in the future. But it's really nice though, because in most games you just wouldn't see them, and in the fluff, in the lore, they're quite ubiquitous, and people do use them, and they're useful. So it's really nice playing double blind and having a use for scouts. I think is really nice. I mean, It might be better if we had a mountain in the middle and a bit more forest, but
Yeah. Or if we were playing on like maybe a slightly larger map with Dusk and Dawn, because with Dusk and Dawn, I think it limits your visibility to 14 hexes or so. So like there's
yeah,
an
yeah.
element of limited visibility there. Also throwing me off a little bit is that we're not playing with the extended range brackets, so I'm used to having a little
Oh,
bit
do you
more
play?
distance.
Okay.
No, I mean I don't mind. Like I saw that, I was okay with it. I wasn't like gonna mention it or anything like that. Um, I just uh, for anyone watching on YouTube that might be aware of how I normally play, I play with the fourth range bracket, and so I tend to maybe occasionally have the opportunity to take some longer range shots, obviously at a massive penalty, but I just feel like three range brackets can be a little limiting sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you've got very highly skilled pilots.
Absolutely, yeah. Once you start looking at elite and super elite pilots, the -6 penalty becomes a little bit more usable. I thought I had a shot, but it's a 13.
Yeah, in some of the early campaigns, I tried like using some of the special pilot abilities like sniper and weapon specialist and things like that. They're really good and they're highly effective, but they almost seem a little bit too strong, and they make the maps feel a lot smaller. But I really enjoy the maneuver part of it. So anything that keeps the ranges. I mean, the weapons don't have a massive range anyway, which is okay. But it's like if the ranges aren't too big and you have to move around and make positional choices, I love that. That's definitely what I'm after in the game.
And it looks like my initiative winning streak continues. Let's see. Well, now I'm going to put him there, so I'll start with that.
That was the other thing. I think did I see in your stream you're using artillery as well?
Yeah, I do have an artillery element in the campaign I'm running on the stream. I don't bring them in very often, and only ever on defensive and usually base defense missions specifically, and they always deploy off board. Just because I feel like it's a little simpler to concentrate on the rules for off board artillery rather than, because I think it's within 17 hexes they can do direct fire, but I think outside of 17 hexes, like, it still takes an extra round to land or something like that.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I generally like having onboard artillery purely to give the opponent a chance to hunt it down and kill it. And I really like the artillery, and it's really appropriate with some forces to use it. But it's very sad if you like using infantry and you start getting hit with artillery, because they just disappear.
Oh yeah. Artillery can also be really useful against things like turrets and slow-moving tanks like demolishers. Certainly not going to argue.
The smoke rounds are very powerful as well.
I haven't had much of a chance to mess around with smoke rounds. I mean, I'm all for lighting fires and using the smoke for that, but doesn't smoke from ammunition dissipate after a round or two?
I can't remember. I can't remember exactly. I think it persists for 2 or 3 rounds, but there might be like a small chance each round that it dissipates or moves.
Okay.
I can't remember what we set the wind for. I don't think we've got high wind, but it can be nice. Like, for example, on this battlefield, like limiting some of the sidelines.
Right.
Like if you've got, because I mean, I would estimate you seem to be a fan of medium lasers, and I've got some moderately long range mechs. So if you could cover your advance with like rolling, barrage of smoke up until you burst out of the smoke and start ripping my face off, that could be quite entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, not for me, but
I could see that. Also aware that there exist flare rounds for artillery that can illuminate the battlefield, but again, those are rules that I'm less clear on. I assume it just reduces the darkness of the whole battlefield.
I think they have a small radius. I tried using flare in a scenario, but it didn't seem to work. But this was a couple of years ago, so it may have been implemented since then, or maybe I was doing it wrong. But I think they should only illuminate a small area, but that can be really effective.
Okay, yeah. Like, I'm gradually being introduced to the concept of using specialty ammunition to affect battlefield conditions, and honestly, I'm here for it. It's just, it is an investment that I guess I haven't made the investment yet to really grasp its full potential. But yeah, definitely something I'm interested in.
I take great pride in being a Free Worlds League player, and I know the Free Worlds League doesn't get a lot of love. Well, often it doesn't amongst the fan base, and the whole force is it's all about using specialty ammunition, teamwork, units cooperating with each other. We can't all have the the big tough Steiner or Davian gun lines with all the glory,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're using the 15th Arcturian Guards camo.
Yeah, the tiger stripe pattern.
I meant to check where they were from and what their deal was. I'll have a look later.
Well, they're a Steiner unit according to the folder that I pulled the camo from. But beyond that, I assume they're from Anturian. I got nothing.
Yeah, I think with the lack of terrain in the middle, this probably isn't going to showcase the benefits of having a double-blind multiplayer game. But because those Savannah Masters are actually a really, really strong choice to eliminate the map. I swear, I mean, we could have played on a larger map, but it would have taken potentially a lot longer.
For sure. And also it definitely would have favored like autocannon 5s and PPCs more.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you get an indirect attack phase, and I don't. Do you have artillery that I'm not aware of?
No, it's going to tag.
Oh, okay, okay. I forgot that happened during the indirect fire phase. Oh, oh, I see.
Yes, the Ost Scout. If you have a look at it, it's not very heavily armed.
I mean, I know that normally it's available with a medium laser, and I was aware that there is a variant that has no guns and just the tag. I just didn't realize you were using it. Let's start.
Yeah. I mean, it's fast. It's got good, jump. It's got good jump jets. The tag is useful. Yeah, I quite like it. I mean, you read the description in the technical readout, and it sort of talks about how unpopular it is, and it's like it's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not going to kill anything, but
Excuse me.
I don't know if you want to run through or explain what we decided about objectives, or kind of what the purpose is and what the significance is of those two hexes.
Well, we had established that anyone occupying the objective hexes scores a victory point at a rate of 1 per turn, yes? And then...
I think overall it's going to be each objective is 50% of the battle value. So, like, if you take both objectives, you win.
Okay.
And if you reduce the opponent to 0 battle value, you also win, or a mixture of the two. So, if you reduce the opponent to below 50%, and you hold one objective, then you win against scenario. Something like that.
Okay, so we're not so much playing for points, it's just conditional. I had it wrong.
Well, it's like it's nice that MegaMek has got it lists the actual battle value, so you can see when you get below 50% battle value, And if we just say arbitrarily that each objective is worth 50% of whatever the battle value is that you need to win, like if we were playing with multiple objectives each, I guess it might be different. This is just experimental. It's just as long as we're reasonably happy with the detail of what we're doing, but as long as we've got some kind of objectives which promote movement,
yeah, as long as we're not.
I'm happy. The details don't. I'm not that worried about it.
All right. Marauder 4M firing at the Savannah Master on 12s and missing. The Thunderbolt firing ER large laser at my Warhammer and missing. Wolverine firing at my Warhammer with an ER large laser. You've got quite a few of those ER large lasers, don't you?
Well, I mean, it's the Free Worlds League. We invented them, sort of.
Oh.
We discovered them, or, well, something.
Well, I'm sure you're aware that my familiarity with the lore is less than perfect, so like I actually didn't know that. I would actually be very, very hard pressed to build a thematically appropriate lance of any kind. I know that Steiner has their very meme-ified assault lance, but other than that,
they tend to have slightly heavier on average. I mean, people do joke about it in our memes, but like for example, if you're using light mechs and you were Steiner, you might use like the Commando. What is it? Commando 1A or 1B? That's a very popular Steiner light mech. So they do use them, and they do like heavy tanks as well. I think.
Is the one
it's not.
The 1B is the one with the large laser, I think, and the 1D is the one with the SRMs.
Okay.
I think. But like I know that Kirita obviously favors the Dragon and the Jenner and the Panther, but yes, that is just about the limit of my knowledge.
I think from what some of the lore kind of suggests is that the Dragon's Combine tends to it doesn't like medium mechs. It likes light mechs and light trooper mechs like Panther, and it likes heavy mechs like the Dragon, but it doesn't like mediums. Whereas like House Davian, I think, is much more interested in some of the medium mechs. So it's kind of some of it is like a little bit about. On average, it's probably about the same, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm aware that excuse me. Like I'm aware that tendencies like that exist. I just have a very limited knowledge of what they are specifically.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's more of you can probably justify any kind of force that you want to use. Like, if nothing else, if you were playing a certain force and it was kind of very mixed, but it was exactly what you wanted, you just say, well, I'm a mercenary and I've worked for everyone. One of the nice things about Battletech is that nothing forces you in a very sort of narrow, constraining way to use something. But then, you know, if you have a preference, you can kind of slightly flavour it. I mean, I've tried roughly to do that with my force, but these are all things that I like anyway, so it's no bother, you know. I'm not taking any units that I hate.
Yeah. Yeah, mine is definitely more of a mercenary force. It's kind of a mixed bag with a less unified theme. I just kind of went down the list and picked some things I thought looked nice.
Yeah.
And I found some things that I thought were kind of nice, and I thought they could be nicer, and so I made custom variants of them.
Yeah. I think 3 or 4 of my mechs are also custom variants, but I've tried to keep them fairly. They're kind of like an intermediate somewhere between the 3025 era and the 3050 era. They're not, you know, for example, like the Marauder I've got is quite similar to one of the Marag variants, but it doesn't have an XL engine. You know, the Orion that I'm using, which is a very Marag kind of mech, it's very similar to one of the variants, but it doesn't have a knock. which I just don't like. So, but otherwise, I think it's fairly similar.
Okay. Yeah. Most of my stuff is pretty lightly modified. Like my urban mechs replace one heatsink with one laser. The Rifleman 4C is just a Rifleman 3C with LB10s instead of the autocannon 10s and 2 extra tons of armor. The Stalker 3F Mark II is literally just the Stalker 3F with double heat sinks and more armor.
Stalker's very nice. That's one of the better early assault mechs.
Yeah, when I found out we were playing with quirks, I knew I had to have a Stalker. That battle computer is just too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Even my Warhammer, I mean, it seems pretty heavily modified, but it's literally just, it replaces the SRMs with medium lasers, it replaces the machine guns and ammo with small lasers, it replaces the heat sinks with double heat sinks and some armor, and it's got a 350 XL engine instead of the 280. Other than that,
Yeah.
like, it's...
I
I feel like it's...
People don't seem to often remember that the traditional Warhammer has actually got very average armor.
Oh yeah.
And it's only some of the Davian and Kurita variants which actually do exactly what you just described. They strip out the machine guns and the ammo. And I think is it the Davian version that gets rid of the SRM and just piles on the armor? Because it's only got like 10 tons of armor as the default version, which is probably not quite enough.
Yeah.
For a 70 tonner.
The 6R has an even 160 points of armor. And I think, is it the Curative version drops the machine guns for heat sinks? Is a variant that I'm also fond of. So that it has an even 20 heat sinks so it can actually fire both PPCs without overheating too badly.
It's just, I feel very sad when you have a Warhammer variant which doesn't have the SRM launcher or the machine guns, which, it's very silly, that's personal preference, but I think that's what some of the Curator and Davian variants strip out, which in a very sensible, practical way, but it does play a bit different from the traditional version.
Yeah, the 6R is, in my opinion, more of a multi-role mech. It's less of like a light assault mech. It has the 2 PVCs, but not quite enough heat sinks to use them really. But what it does have is a really good variety of weapons. It has the medium lasers, it has the small lasers, the machine guns, and the SRMs. So like it's really nasty against like infantry, for example.
Yeah, and it looks cool. It's iconic as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
But
actually, did you make your Warhammer? Is it 5.8, not 4.6?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I think there is a later variant that does that. That's quite interesting. It's quite nice when you get the heavier mechs with later era technology, which moves slightly faster.
Yeah.
And I think it's good if you've got an XL engine. It's good, to trade that at fast movement speed.
Yeah, and one thing that I actually turned me on to using the XL engine to make the Warhammer a 5.8 is that the 350 XL engine plus a 4-ton gyro weighs exactly as much as the 280 standard engine with a 3-ton gyro. So it literally just...
Say that again.
The combined weight of the engine and gyro is the same whether you're using a 280 or a 350 XL.
Okay.
So like there's no other modifications needed. You can just literally just bolt in an XL engine and it's good to go.
Yeah.
But as far as the Warhammer being specifically an iconic, visually striking mech, I really wish that we could claim that as like a Western innovation, but it is that one is all up to the Japanese who originally came up with the design.
Yeah, is it Robotech? And then I mean, that's a very sore point, I think, with a lot of BattleTech fans, because that became licensed um, to FASA originally. And then there was the conflict with the IP, with Harmony Gold.
The way I understand the
the whole
story,
unseen thing.
the way I understand the story, and I may have some of the details wrong, was that Harmony Gold had acquired the rights to the visual representation of, it was called the Tomahawk in Robotech. But then
Okay.
Harmony Gold sold the rights to BattleTech, but it later came about that Harmony Gold didn't own the rights to sell them in the first place. So BattleTech ended up using the artwork and then later finding out that they technically weren't legally allowed to. Same thing with the
Yeah, I mean,
Marauder and the
they probably,
Archer.
yeah. It's a shame because so many of the really iconic, really popular early mechs, certainly when I can remember when I first played, for a number of years, we didn't get, the artwork was removed, and that was, a little bit sad. And it's quite nice that now we still have, we have the opportunity. I think they've released new versions, new artwork, and so on.
Yeah,
It's just, I think it's one of these things that it left a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths, and it was very sad. But,
yeah. The first time they tried to bring back the unseen mechs was with they called it I think Operation Phoenix, where they came up with
yeah,
new
Project Phoenix,
artwork, and it's generally regarded as not being great artwork. So that did not go over well. I do really like the sculpts that came out with the new boxed set, the Game of Armored Combat from the Kickstarter.
Okay, okay.
I was really happy with the way they looked there. Um, I think they're fantastic, and I'm glad that we're getting to a point where we can start, you know, basically taking it back as our own intellectual property.
Yeah.
When I say us, I mean, the BattleTech fandom and producers.
It's one of the nice things, I think, with the some of the things that CGI have been publishing recently, the ill-planned recognition guides, where it includes also the old unseen, but they've been, updated to the 3145 period with all the new, with new technology and upgrades. And I mean, they're a bit better than the 3050 up.
Well, hold on. I just lost visual and audio. I don't know what happened here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but my monitor just spontaneously turned itself off and took the audio with it.
Two monitors running, yeah.
Yes, I've got OBS open on the small monitor and MegaMek on the bigger one. Did not satisfy turn mode. Okay, so I guess I'm not as familiar with this rule. I'm trying to move this Savannah Master, and it's giving me a piloting check for not satisfying a turn mode, and I guess that's based on the number of
Didn't think to have that
hexes.
turned on. I think turn mode, it's basically a number of hexes that you need to move forwards before you can turn. I was pretty sure I had that turned off because I don't like that. Let me.
Ah, well, it's too late now. I mean, I'm not too worried about it. If I fail the check, worst case scenario is my hovercraft goes into the water, and it can do that. But
Oh,
I was just
see,
gonna
I never
ask how
used that. That
many.
shouldn't highlight it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. No, but all it means is that you have to, if, depending on how fast you're going, you have to move a certain number of hexes forwards before you can turn. The idea basically being, if you're going very, very, very fast,
You
you
have to
can't
make a
turn
wider
at the
turn,
same
yeah.
time. Yeah, I, I've never used that and I hate it, so I don't know. I apologise for that. I
Oh,
didn't intend that to be the sound.
I mean, I don't mind. It's not a problem. I was just gonna ask if you could give me some insight as to how far do I have to move before I can turn again.
I can look it up. Give me a second. Let me locate the book.
That is one thing about BattleTech. As much as I love it, and as stable as the rules are, they have introduced a lot of things and changed a few things since the last time I bought rules for BattleTech. So, like, all of
Yeah.
my books
Oh
that
yeah,
are
yeah.
20 years old now are honestly kind of useless, and I need to get the new books.
I mean, there's a, some of it is not like if you ever. Do you remember Max Tech?
I heard of it, but I don't think I ever had Max Tech. I had.
Okay.
Hold on, give me one sec.
Uh,
Okay, yeah, actually, no, I do have Maximum Tech. The one with the, that's
the
not a,
beautiful picture of the Zeus on the front, which
yeah,
you should love as a Schneider player.
yeah. And I haven't looked at this book in so long. But yeah, I remember this
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
had rules for, I think, was it ELRMs and things like that?
It's got so much stuff in there which has become gradually incorporated into the general rules over the years.
Okay, yeah, I
I think
remember.
it's one of the first.
Sorry.
Sorry, I sent you the table for turn mode.
Oh,
I think it's the right one. I'm not sure.
okay. Let me just take a look see at that. Uh, okay, so if I move 1 to 4 hexes, the turn mode is 0. If I move to 5 to 9 hexes, the turn mode is 1. It
I
goes up.
think it's reduced as well if it's a light vehicle.
Okay. Yeah, I
It's one
see.
of these things that sounds good and it sounds logical, but in actual practice, considering the size of the hexes, I think if you're a very small, light vehicle with not much armor, personally, I think it's unfair to penalize them anymore. So, I yeah, I shouldn't have turned that on. That was not intentional.
I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, we're literally playing on a fresh download of the game, so like I know it usually takes a few matches for me to get all of the options right from default. Like there's
Mm,
always something you miss. There's just so many
yeah,
options. Um, okay.
it's worse on urban maps. That's why I remember starting to use that option to see what it was like and playing in very built-up areas, like city grid maps, and it's just horrible. It's just, I mean, it felt terrible. So I decided never to never to use that again.
Right, because on an urban map, there's so many places where you have to make a 2 hex side turn to round a corner of a street, and with this, it looks
Yeah,
like you have to make a roll for that, no matter how fast you're going,
yeah,
basically.
and like if it's open and flat, it's not too bad. But on an urban map, if you make an error, you collide with a building, and that's usually not much fun for a hovercraft.
No, no, certainly not.
And they have enough problems as it is.
Yeah, even on a map like this, I mean, there's heavy woods. That's forbidden terrain for hovercraft. And it's not beyond the realm of possibility that there would be a two-level cliff for them to run into. And I know that'll immobilize the hovercraft real quick, too.
If I'm being slow and I haven't moved and it's my turn to move, if I haven't noticed, if you can give me a nudge, just say so.
Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Oh,
feel
sorry,
like it.
I realised we were talking there, but it's more, it's a little bit late and I've had half a bottle of wine, so I'm not trying to hold things up. I want to move things on. So if I am being slow, just give me a shout and I'll move on.
All right. Yeah, if it comes to that, I'll just remind you that it's your turn. All right. So both of my guys needed fives. Both of them made fives, barely though. All right, your turn for tag. We've got that is the Achilles light battle armor targeting the Warhammer on 11 and an automatic failure. Odd. And then the other one on a 9 at the Stalker. Fair enough. Miss. All right, don't have to worry about tag this turn. All right, and as always, starting with the big guns, you've got no target. You have... Okay, can't see those guys, but maybe... It's long range, what do you expect? Alright, that should be all the 20s, moving on to the 10s. So 7, 6. Or I could do 8s. Oh, decisions. You're not giving me as many good targets as I would have liked.
Good.
Take a couple of 7s and a couple of 9s there. You've got... So we need a 4. Yeah, I like that. Something tells me we might have some first blood this round. We're starting to get close enough that I'm getting some decent target numbers on some of these guys.
Okay. And you've got some good pilots there as well.
Nothing spectacular. I've got a couple of 3.5s and I think a 4.4. I mean, I wasn't trying to, you know, invest the points in like an elite pilot or something like that. I was trying to have, you know, enough metal on the field to be useful. But
yeah. I haven't looked at it a lot, but it does seem that paying for very skilled pilots seems to be fairly punitive with battle value. I mean, there's definitely, like, I noticed, like, is it with Stalker you pay for a piloting upgrade?
Yeah.
But not the gunnery. Is that because, is it like vestigial arms? Like, if it falls over?
Yes,
something like that?
the Stalker does have the no/minimal arms quirk.
Yeah.
And
so that makes sense. That's very logical, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to counteract that a little bit, so I put a 4.4 pilot in the Stalker. I thought about going a 3.4, but the way it compounds, that would have been, I think, like a 32% increase in the battle value. And I mean, that's like 400 points on that mech, you know? And I was like, well, I can have a 3.4 pilot or I can have a Saladin, you know?
Yeah.
Alright, so your Marauder firing at my Warhammer on 9s, hitting him in the left arm and the left torso with the large laser and the LB-10X. Nice. Your Orion missing the Warhammer on 10s and 9s with his LRM and LB-10. Saladin did not hit the Apollo. Thunderbolt firing at the Warhammer hits with one medium laser to the left leg. My Wolverine missing on 8s and 10s. The Apollo landing a minefield on Hex 2121. And Smoke in 2422. Interesting. Just make a note of that in case it doesn't show up on the map so I don't accidentally walk into Hex 2121.
It's fine, it's totally safe. Nothing bad can happen.
Your Phalanx battle armor firing SRMs at my Warhammer and missing. Warhammer returning fire on the APC, missing on 7s and 9s. I was really hoping to get something there. ER support laser platoons firing at my Warhammer on 11s and 10s, getting 6s and 9s. My Rifleman landing a critical hit on your Marauder, and I know we were talking earlier about the floating criticals.
No comment.
I mean, if we had floating criticals turned off, however, that would have been a center torso hit, which, I mean, engine or gyro.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's just personal taste. It's more, yeah, we talked about that earlier. It's not. It's quite funny. But yeah. Never mind.
Well, I want to let you know that I appreciate your willingness to play by the rules that I set forth, especially when it results in your Marauder immediately losing his arm.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. It's like it could have been the other way around.
Yeah,
it's kind of it affects everyone equally. It's more, a little bit of randomness is nice. Anyway, no, we talked about it earlier. Never mind. Sorry, go on.
No. I don't mind covering ground that we've already covered, especially since we are now recording. I don't think our audience was privy to that part of the conversation earlier. So I just wanted, I guess, anyone watching to be aware of the inherent irony in what just happened. And you have one initiative for this.
Don't worry. I won't hold it against you. I'll forgive you at some point.
Alright, well, I appreciate it. Um, Wait, I thought you won initiative this turn. Why is it telling me to wait for you to move?
I still need to move.
Well, yeah, but I thought you
Yeah, there we
had
go.
I thought you had won initiatives, which normally means that I move first. So I was confused.
Did I win? Hang on.
I hadn't moved anything yet.
We're in round 4 yet.
Uh, Seems like.
So it says first three Wards Guards rolls an 8, and the Fighting Bulldogs rolls an 11.
Oh, okay, I know what it is. Messed me up. I wasn't reading the words, I was looking at the colors. I'm used to being purple. So yeah, I did win
okay.
initiative. My bad. So I had noticed that you had put was that a 15-point minefield in front of my Warhammer?
Yeah.
Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong. That means that if I move through the mind hex, I take 15 points of damage to the legs, right?
There's some kind of roll, I think. So the 15 is the damage and the density. I think I'll find the table in a second. So the more dense the minefield, the more likely like you can walk through the hex and it's possible to avoid it. Let me look it all up and I'll paste it in. Give me a sec.
I mean, either way, I'm not planning on walking through that hex unless I absolutely have to. It's not like a bottleneck or anything.
Oh right, okay. So I can't remember the actual rule, but if you walk through a minefield hex, there's a roll, and if it's like I think oh, my memory's fading me. I think the maximum density is like 30 or 35 or something like that, and it's very likely to get hit. If it's a 5 or 10 point minefield, you can walk through it and you probably won't get hit, and it
Okay.
is randomized between the legs. It's one of these things. It's a really useful psychological tool because if you put a minefield down, most people, like you said, most people don't want to walk through it. But sometimes it's like, well, that minefield just represents a roll that someone made in the previous turn with LRMs, and you might avoid it anyway, and it's to your legs, which have lots of structure and lots of armor anyway.
Yeah.
So it's more of a psychological tool to kind of try and channel people's movement. And it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Like, if there's some way you want to move and there's a minefield, ignore it. So, I mean, I probably shouldn't be saying any of that, but you know what I mean, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, if I was in a battle the other in my side game a couple of days ago where I had some, or no, it wasn't my side game. It was on stream where I had some infantry and I was trying to leg that one Hermes that had 1 point left in his leg.
Yeah.
That mech,
Yeah.
if I had been in control of a mech with 1 point left in his leg and there was a minefield on the field, I would avoid that hex at all costs.
Absolutely, yeah. That makes yeah, that's very logical.
That is...
I think this is one of the interesting things about the game. some of the specialty rules, they have more of a psychological impact on the opponent rather than a practical one. It kind of makes it a bit more spicy to play, which is nice.
Yeah. And I also feel like those deployable minefields, like the ones you're using, would also be really good on like an urban map where there are lots of natural bottlenecks where you can hit
choke points, yeah.
Where you can hit like an intersection and just prevent like all kinds of access to entire portions of the map.
I mean, certainly when you're being defensive, I mean, my perception of this area here is that Warhammer's moving pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's faster than my mechs, and you've got medium lasers. So I'm trying to persuade you not to move closer. So that's why I'm using it. Whereas if I was being much more aggressive and trying to close to short range, then I would probably not have used it, or I might have placed it somewhere else.
Right, that makes sense. Now that was, I would say, an interesting move. Jumped 5. Just need to refresh my memory.
Define interesting.
I mean, you put him 2 hexes away from my stalker. And, I mean, I realize you have medium pulse lasers, but I have medium lasers and SRMs. And I know I'm not evasive or anything this round, but I think I'm going to try to kick you in the leg.
Yes, I know you really, really like physical attacks. That's the impression I get from watching the stream anyway.
Yeah, and I think it comes from that 30-25 medium laser mentality where closer is better, which is not always the case. If you've got like a lot of PPCs or Gauss rifles, obviously you want to try to exploit your range advantage. But for lower tech games, yeah, I feel like melee combat is more critical.
I'm more concerned about the Saladin. The Saladin, is that an AC-20 thing?
That is, yes, a basic standard Saladin. Yeah. It's the armor variant, which sacrifices a ton of ammo for more armor. Because, seriously, what Saladin is going to get 15 shots off?
Yeah. Like, you know, I like optimism.
Well, I feel like if it can take more than 1 or 2 medium lasers, it's worth sacrificing a third of its ammo.
Yeah.
You have kind of put me in a little bit of a pickle with this minefield. I'm trying to figure out exactly where to put this Warhammer now. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to walk through that minefield. You've actually done a pretty good job.
See, this is what I'm saying. It's like that's a really anemic minefield. You look at your leg armor, and you'll probably be like, if I'd have shot you in the legs with the LRM-15, you wouldn't have cared about it. So, if it's tactically advantageous for you to move it through it, then you should do that. If it isn't, you don't need to. It's much more of a psychological thing, really, than a practical thing. If I was using like mines deployed with artillery, or like I wanted to bring an archer as well. This is why I remember we discussed using like 6,000 BV, and then I come back. I remember like I started putting the force together, and I realized this is 11,000 already. And I said to you, and you were very kind, and you said 11,000 is fine. And it's like, you know, I wanted to bring an archer with some thunder rounds as well.
All right, well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah. Okay. And no damage, I guess?
I don't see anything at this point. I imagine we'll see
I
the
think it
roll
would have
at...
done it, wouldn't it?
You'd think. Normally it interrupts things for a little pop-up. I imagine we'll see all the dice rolls at the end of the phase.
Okay, okay.
That Warhammer is going to get ganged up on. He was not as evasive as he should have been. I'm starting to feel like
He's
that.
fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm starting to feel like that might have been a mistake.
It's totally fine. Nothing bad can happen, I promise.
Oh, you would say that.
Right, so with regards to what we were saying about objectives earlier, so I've got a couple of units adjacent to the objective. However, you've got the Griffin within 3 hexes, so you're contesting that, so I don't score any victory points.
Okay. So at the end of this round, if I have half of your forces dead and I control one and contest the other, I would technically have already won.
You'd win, yeah.
I follow. I've kind of put the Saladin nose to this cliff where he's less than useful and less than maneuverable. Oh, Lord. I was just looking at this perspective move that I was going to try to make. I was like, it'll be, 2 rolls or whatever. I can make that. No, it's a 6, a 6, and a 5. So...
And vehicles have to pay extra movement going up hills, don't they? That's a mix.
I know.
So I guess he's got quite a lot of movement.
Hover vehicles specifically, I think, pay extra movement for going up and down hills. I don't know if that applies to tracked and wheeled vehicles. I also think I may be wrong, but I think it's only hover vehicles are also incapable of moving up or down more than 1 elevation per hex.
Right, okay.
So, a unit enters a conventional minefield in Hex 2121, needs an 8 or plus, rolls a 5, so that was a miss. Alright.
Yep.
And then even though I moved through the minefield, I still only picked up 1 point of evasion. So I imagine you're going to hit me with probably at least 1 tag this turn. But I really wanted to be close enough to use my small lasers. If anything, I would say small lasers are probably my second favorite weapon behind the... oh, they all missed. But behind the medium laser, I love the small laser because it does have that 3-to-1 damage to heat ratio.
Mm. Yeah, it's very efficient. So is the medium laser. It's one of these things. I don't. Very optimized, very close range mechs with lots and lots of medium lasers are very, very efficient and effective. Right, I try not to. I try not to do that too often. However, it would have made more sense in the situation where you've got some reasonably fast moving sort of I suppose people call them cavalry mech kind of ideas. Like anything that moves 5'8" with medium lasers is going to be like the Warhammer. It's going to be a handful in close combat.
Yeah, that was very much the effect I was trying for with this variant. Do I take the 8 or do I take the 5? Let's start here. Okay. Oh, 10.
It is interesting. Like your force as a whole is much more mobile than I gave credit for.
It was actually my intention when we were talking initially about capturing objectives and 11,000 battle value. I was already thinking that I would have one slower force, which is the urban mechs and the panther and the riflemen to a lesser degree, to hold down my objective while I sent a bunch of 5/8s and 6/9s out after your objective. So it's intentionally split, and the stalker was kind of added as an afterthought, kind of as a heavier mobile element. It's not as fast as I would say the rest of the attack group, but it was there basically intended to reinforce and kind of bridge the gap between the defenders and the offense.
Yeah.
Alright, so Achilles missing the Warhammer on a 9, Marauder hitting the Warhammer on 6s to the left leg and the right arm and the right torso for a total of 24 damage. Nice.
And you lost your searchlight.
Well, if this was a night mission, that would concern me. The Saladin misses the Ost Scout on a 10. I was hoping. I know it was slim odds, but if I had connected with that, that thing would have been done for.
Yeah.
Orion firing cluster ammo at the Warhammer for 3 hits to the center torso and the arms. And a medium laser to the right torso critical, hitting a double heat sink. And missing the Panther with the LRM-20 on a 10. Urban Mech on the Apollo missing. Thunderbolt at the Warhammer, 8 to the center torso, 5 more to the left torso and center torso, and a pair of SRMs to the left arm and center torso. That center torso, jeez. Started the round... Let's see if I can... Started the round with 25 points, and we're already down to 9. Also connecting with machine guns to the arms, which are also down to 9 now. The other Urban Mech also missing the Apollo. Your Wolverine at my Rifleman, hitting with 2 medium pulse lasers on 9s to the left leg and right arm. My Panther does connect with your Wolverine to the center torso. And the Apollo clearing Hex 2418. Is that... Were you targeting the woods?
I think I made a mistake, don't worry about it.
Oh. Okay, well the other one needed a 9 on the Rifleman and missed. Phalanx at the Griffin hit with 13 SRMs. Oh, they have an SRM-4 apiece?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So that's 26 points of damage worth of SRMs, scattered about, looks like mostly the torso and legs, and 1 shot to the head for the first consciousness check on the Griffin. Oh, and you're also able to fire the auto rifles and a pair of, I guess, light Gauss rifles? King David?
They're infantry-based casualties. They're like 1 point of damage. They've got good range, but yeah, it's 1 point per suit.
Okay, I did not know Battle Armor was able to launch so many weapons at one time. I thought they'd be more like conventional infantry, where they have to choose between like their main weapon or their sidearm. Let's see, my Rifleman missing the Apollo on both 5s, but hitting on both 7s. So that's 10 points I didn't have before. The other Phalanx at the Griffin hitting with 32 points worth of SRMs. Looks like a little bit of that went to the arms. Right arm has gone internal. Left arm is down to 10. Left torso is down to 8. Things are not looking great for that Griffin. I really thought I had more firepower than those 2 squads of battle armor, but I was wrong. Heavy tracked APC needing 9s to hit the Warhammer with machine gun and missing. ER lasers at the Warhammer needing 5s and missing, and 9s on the Griffin and missing. Griffin returning fire on the Phalanx battle armor, hits with a medium laser. Yeah, that was not an exchange that I had the upper hand in. God, hit me with, what was it, 28 SRMs, and I hit you with a laser. And then the Stalker on your Wolverine hits large laser to the right arm, medium laser to the right torso, 4 SRMs. Almost got a crit on your right torso, but didn't quite. Savannah Masters both missed your Ost Scout, and then the Warhammer on the Marauder, hitting 5s with 6 medium lasers and 6 small lasers. That's left leg, left torso, glancing blow to the right torso. 5 to the center torso, 2 to the right torso. Glancing blows, man. That I really like that low profile perk. Going up against it, not so much. And especially with small and medium lasers, the low profile perk rounds down the half points. So that means the medium laser goes from 5 to 2, and the small laser goes from 3 to 1. Let's see.
I think it
Sorry?
works really well with like long range kind of because that Marauder has got ER large lasers and an RBX-10. So if it's at long ranges where the target numbers are relatively high, that little bit of extra leeway. I mean, he's standing right next to the target and he's being shot at by a Warhammer that's 1x away. So it's not quite. He's not doing quite what he was expecting. But yeah.
But I mean, even on fives, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 glancing blows out of 12 shots on fives. So I would say that that perk has definitely earned its weight. The Warhammer needs a 7 to stay standing and falls. Takes 5 to the center torso, down to 4 armor there, and 2 to the right torso, narrowly making his seatbelt check. Marauder needs a 6, gets a 7. Wolverine needs a 7, gets a 10. Griffin needs a 9, gets a 10. Jeez, that Griffin. 60 plus damage in 1 round. That's impressive. Those battle armors are not something I'm going to underestimate again. I'm going to take them out with some PPCs and LRMs.
Yeah, they're sort of nasty at close range. I mean, the Phalanx, they've got SRM4s. Once they've used those, it's not that impressive. Especially as they can't. I don't think they can do. They're heavy battle armor, so they can't do anti-mech.
Okay. How many shots do they have for those SRM launchers? Is it like a one-shot launcher or?
I can't remember. I think it's 2.
Okay. Well, so I still need to give those guys some berth.
Well, no, I think I missed last round with some of them. Yeah, you might want to look at them individually and see if they've got any ammo left. They might not, or they might.
So it looks like everyone lands all of their kicks. You've gone internal on my Warhammer's left arm. And the Stalker takes 11 to the leg. Stalker returns with 17 to the Wolverine's leg, but nobody goes down. So that's well and good. Alright. Wolverine's starting to heat up a little bit. Griffin has a couple of points. Nothing major. Everything... Right. And so I rolled a 7. You got the 4 for initiative. We're both down to between 93 and 94% of our forces. So far, on the whole, I would say it's a little early to tell, but it feels like a pretty closely matched game. And okay, so yeah, this Phalanx battle armor is out of ammo for the SRM4. However, it is now sharing a hex with me, and if I'm not mistaken, that means it can do a swarm attack, right?
I don't. It's a heavy battle.
Oh yeah. We just talked about that. So no swarm attacks, but you can still.
Think it can.
But you can still shoot at targets in the same hex as you, like regular infantry,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas I would only be able to retaliate with stomp attack.
Yeah.
Regardless, I think that Griffin is in badly beaten up enough shape that he is definitely going to be trying to probably fall back a little bit.
What is the what on S? Is that like a large laser version?
Yeah, it trades the PPC for a large laser and 2 mediums. I think is really the only difference. I think it has the same armor and I want to say the same heat sinks. It has 16 heat sinks. Oh no, it also has LRM5 instead of the LRM10. So I think it does actually have a couple extra heat sinks.
Yeah, I'm starting to regret those speculative shots with the phalanx battle armor in the first round, or the
Opening
first
round.
shots they made. It was a bit of a waste of ammo.
Yeah, that
It'd
second
be
round was
really nice if they
definitely
did that.
that second round was definitely the more effective round.
Yeah, yeah. It's very quiet.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of caught up in concentration here.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting a little tense about the situation that this prone Warhammer is in.
Are those Savannah Masters armed?
Yeah, they have one medium laser each. If I'm not mistaken, there is also a tag variant of them, but that's not what I'm using. I don't tend to go in real heavy on missiles most of the time. So for me, things like tag and narc are, I guess, a little less effective for my style.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I was not sure he was going to get up on a 5.
Is that Stalker the last unit you've got to move?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. Uh, damn. Okay. So that's the usual Stalker, like LRMs, SRMs, medium lasers,
Large lasers.
large lasers.
The only thing is, instead of having, um, what is it? I think the Stalker normally has 22 heat sinks this one has 19 double heat sinks and extra
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah, it's like the Stalker is actually quite popular with Free World League forces, but it's like the 3025 version I really like, but some of the 3050 upgrades, they don't seem to capitalize on the opportunities, you know?
Yeah,
So it sounds like you've made a very sensible and direct kind of sort of upgrade, whereas you look at the canon variants, and like it's supposed to be sometimes relatively long ranged, and it's got narc in some of the upgrades. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there are quite a number of 3050 cannon upgrades that I would argue are not specifically upgrades necessarily. They do weird things like putting they'll replace like a Gauss rifle, or they'll replace a PPC with a Gauss rifle and put double heat sinks on it, and it's like, what's the point? When it comes to the 3050 TRO, sometimes it feels like they spent more time asking, "Can we do this?" than should we.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people. That's the kind of thing that people say is that the 3050 upgrades are supposed to be like people getting panicked. There's a lot of pressure in terms of the clan invasion. It's new technology; they're not sure how to use it. But it's like if you and I can sit there and go, the Panther should have double heat sinks. If it doesn't have it, don't give it any RPPC.
Yeah.
Then I'm sure the engineers making it would have gone. They would have said this, they would have been just as fast. You know, it seems irresponsible to make that kind of mistake, especially considering that's a standardized trooper mech for the Dragonis Combine, and they just basically ruined the upgrades for it.
Yeah, I agree. It performs much better with a double heat sink kit and an ERPPC. And then it can jump and fire the SRMs and only build up a couple of points of heat, and still save enough weight to maximize the armor.
Yeah.
But without the double heat sinks, but I think the reason they did that is because you can swap a PPC out for an ERPPC in like a day or two tops using the campaign rules.
Yeah.
Whereas a double heat sink kit is going to take closer to like a couple weeks or a month. So I think it comes down to field expediency. But yeah, a lot of the ones that are in the book, just I do not feel them.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the kind of thing where it almost seems like people try to explain away how bad some of the variants are. Whereas I think you can make some argument for them being rushed or there being difficulties with the technology, but also it is a game and you want to be able to use the units. So it's fine having a few lemons or a few that aren't totally optimized. Like as soon as you get to like the 3055 or 3058 thing, where every man and his dog has got a Gauss rifle and a medium laser, and they're all endo steel, double easy. And it's like, okay, I get it. I think it's a happy medium generally.
Yeah, I haven't seen. There's the royal variants of a lot of mechs that I understand are pretty popular and pretty well designed from what I've seen. But those are, I feel like, kind of a later development than like the 3050 mechs, which, I mean, yeah, they do just feel really slapped together and rushed and not really thought out. But the royal variants, I feel like, are much more effective, much more usable mechs that hold the spirit of the original without going too overboard. And that's
well, I mean, the royal mechs are very, very optimized. I mean, I ran a campaign a couple of years ago set during the Amara Civil War, and that was the first time when I started to use some of the royal mechs. They're all really, really good. They're like the kind of upgrades that you would really want to have. And you look at the technology, it's not very controversial. I know some people don't like them because it is a retcon compared to the original 2750 book, which has got, it's a real mixed bag. compared to the Royals, which they're all extremely solid high performers, you know. I don't know, it's nice to have some of the older mechs get variants which are very solid.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, that's kind of what I shoot for when I'm modifying mechs to my heart's content. Is I'm trying to find something that is true to the spirit of the mech, just generally better and more optimized. Um, okay, there he is.
I think like a 1 minute AFK. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
All right. Well, I guess continuing solo for right now. Saladin needs a 7, rolls a 7, hits trooper number 4 and kills him from squad A. Achilles doing a leg attack on my rifleman, misses, rolling a 3, needing a 5. Savannah Master kills one of the infantrymen in the support laser platoon. Achilles trying to swarm the rifleman, rolls a 7, gets a 7, or needs a 7, rolls a 7. Defender swarmed. Okay. So light battle armor can do that. Alright. Other Savannah Master kills one more infantryman. Achilles attacking the Stalker for 1 damage to the center torso, for 2 damage to the center torso. Warhammer on the Thunderbolt, needing 4s, hits the left leg, right torso, right arm again, left torso, right arm again. Small lasers to the left torso, right leg, left arm, head for a first consciousness check, and more to the left and right torso. My Urban Mech hits the Wolverine on a 9 in the left arm for 10, leaving 4. The other one misses on an 8. Marauder, firing on the Warhammer, hits with the ER large to the right leg, the LB10 to the right arm going internal, and the medium pulse to the left torso going internal there. The Orion, firing an LB10 at the Warhammer, getting critical hits on the left leg to the upper and lower leg actuators through the armor, and hitting with 3 SRMs to the left arm and left torso, all going internal but no crits. And then a medium laser to the head for a consciousness check there as well. LRM-20 at the Saladin hits with 12 missiles to the front and left side, immobilizing the Saladin. Our our Panther at the Thunderbolt hits with the PVC to the right leg, misses the Wolverine with the SRMs. And then... what's that?
Sorry, no. I was reading ahead slightly. I'm laughing at something silly that I did. Never mind. Go on. Keep going.
Okay, well, did you see that you immobilized the Saladin and crippled the Warhammer?
Yeah.
Okay. Wolverine firing at my rifleman hits with only a medium pulse laser, hits in the center torso rear. Friendly fire on the Achilles light battle armor.
Sorry, that's what I was laughing at.
I see.
He shall have a stern talking to later.
Well, I mean, he's
out of... Trooper number 4. Trooper number 4 needs to have a word with Mr. Wolverine. And I suspect Trooper number 4 is a quite large, strong gentleman who likes the power armor.
Well, he is fresh out of armor. I assume he's still fully operational with just 1 point of internal structure. Still has like all of...
Yeah. 1 point of internal structure, that is 1 point of flesh and bone, yeah.
So he's basically running around naked, but we're all going to just pretend like he's still in his armor until he takes 1 more point of damage.
The armor's holding together. It's great workmanship. It's totally fine. No problem.
Right. Apollo missed the Warhammer on 8s. The Phalanx at the Savannah Master. This is number 2 is the one that was already immobile, right? Or no, that was the Saladin that was already immobile. Savannah Master.
I think I was concentrating fire as much as I could on the Savannahs.
Well, you did immobilize one of the Savannah Masters and the Saladin, so that's cool. Rifleman landing the LB-10X on the Apollo's head, critting out his sensors and forcing a consciousness check. And if I'm not mistaken, a sensors hit imports a +2 penalty to all ranged attacks, right? The first one?
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure the first one is a
Sounds about right, yeah.
I think the first one is +2 to ranged attacks, and the second sensor crit keeps you from making ranged attacks at all, but I don't think physical attacks are affected.
That's very rude, considering the Apollo is basically an LRM machine.
Yeah.
How is he supposed to be shooting at you guys? That's terrible behavior. You should be embarrassed.
Yeah. I'm not mad. and then the other Phalanx shooting at the Savannah Master takes 1 to the right side. Heavy APC at the Rifleman hits the right torso. Some of your infantry shooting lasers at my Warhammer, destroying the left arm, going internal on the left torso, going internal on the right arm twice, going internal on the left torso again, but fortunately not getting any of those crits. Another platoon firing lasers at the Warhammer for 10 damage, critting out one of the small lasers, going internal on the center torso. Down to 3 structure on the left torso. Missing the Rifleman, missing the Savannah Master. And then the other one hitting the Savannah Master in the front, immobilizing it, injuring the commander, stunning the crew, and finally destroying it.
Good job, lads. That's what we like to see.
Yep. Griffin missing on 8s and 9s at your battle armor and infantry. And then more infantry shooting at the Savannah Master. Number 2 is the one that's already dead. My Stalker at your Wolverine hits 8 to the left torso, 10 to the left leg, 5 to the left arm, critting the shoulder and the upper arm, and then 3 SRMs to the left, right, and center torso. Warhammer, wow, okay. Needs to make 3 piloting skill rolls because he lost 2 actuators and took 60 points of damage. They're all 10s. He makes the first one but fails the second. Destroying his left torso, critting his engine because he's got the XL engine. So yeah, Warhammer is out of the fight. Thunderbolt needs a 7, Wolverine needs a 7, Apollo needs a 6, and they all get them. Alright. Now, do I kick? I need an 11 apparently. Brush off isn't an option. I assume you need hand actuators for that? Or...
that sounds logical, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because it looks like my rifleman only has...
Which mech is that?
This is my rifleman, who's in the same hex
I think you can still do it, but you might get penalties if you don't have hand actuators. I can't remember.
Against your battle armor ID number 1, I've got an 11 to kick for 12 damage, because stomping infantry is a +3 to hit. But against ID 4, I literally have no options for melee enabled. So yeah, I think you actually do need hand, or at least lower arm actuators to brush infantry off.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah. The brushing off thing is quite risky, because if you miss the hit, you can punch yourself in the head. I don't think I've ever seen that in a game. And that's the thing, it's like, generally I don't go for swarms, because then I don't think they're terribly effective. But I thought I could make 2 leg attacks with both squads, but one of them, it wouldn't let me do it. That's why I did the swarm.
Alright, so your Wolverine missed the kick at the Rifleman. Rifleman missed his kick at the APC. The Stalker did kick the Wolverine. I'm guessing that was in an already damaged leg. Left leg. That was actually his strong leg.
I don't know, a Stalker does a lot of damage when it kicks.
It does. It really does. I think, was it... I was watching, I think, Tirak playing MegaMek back when he was still doing that regularly. He had a melee master and a stalker that was kicking twice for 18. That was...
yeah.
Oh man, I recently on the Fighting Bulldogs had a pilot make elite. My quick draw pilot made elite. Or no, it wasn't
quick draw. That's like, is that 65 tons? Jumps around, uses lasers.
60 tons, lasers and missiles. It has an SRM-4 and an LRM-10 originally. I've reorganized the lasers to where they're all torso mounted and front facing, and I swapped the LRM-10 out for a pair of 5s. So it's got double heat sinks, but otherwise it's pretty close to original. But my pilot that was in that recently saved up enough XP to get the Melee Master SPA, and I have been loving it. She's kicking for 13 twice per round in a 60-ton mech that moves 585.
As well.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's beautiful. Oh, yeah.
All right, so your Wolverine is up to 5 heat. My Griffin is up to 2. Stalker is up to 3. Everyone else is running pretty cool.
I'm really not happy about that sensor hit.
Well, I'm not happy about the Warhammer, so I guess we're even. I mean, I knew what I was getting into with an XL engine, but I guess I was more of that campaign mindset where I was expecting to have more survivability, which was a mistake on my part.
It had good armor. I mean, it was just... It's a very fast, and you had a lot of medium lasers. You had like 6 medium lasers and like, is it 4 or 6 smalls?
It's 6 of each.
It was always going to attract a lot of firepower.
Yeah, and I guess Princess doesn't usually single it out like that, so I've gotten a little more comfortable putting it further ahead than I really should against a more intelligent opponent. I think Princess is not as good at recognizing threats, maybe, as you are.
I think, I don't know exactly, I think Princess generally will always shoot for the lowest target numbers. So I I don't think she looks at threat. I think it's literally if it's an easier hit, she'll go for it. I think.
Yeah, and it seems like that to me too. I don't feel like I've ever seen her take a more difficult shot at a more valuable target, but like I don't really have any experience in like programming or anything like that, so I have no idea how her logic actually works.
Can I just confirm? You know where that warhammer just fell over? Is that's on fire, right?
It does appear to be. Yeah, I've got light woods, fire, rough, and I believe it's rough because the warhammer died there. I saw one of the optional rules was for creating a rough hex wherever a unit is destroyed.
Yeah, I like that option. It's quite characterful. I think I quite like it. Enjoy it. I don't think it makes a lot of difference.
I mean, I could see it giving like infantry a place where they can like hide and not be subject to double damage for being in the open. I guess like hiding in the burnt out hulk of whatever was there. But I don't think that's a rule that I'm probably going to use. Just I think the logic behind my idea is that each hex is supposed to be 30 meters across, and a battle mech is only 12 meters tall. Even if he was like stretched out in the middle of the hex, he would only cover what, about 40% of it. So he should be easy enough to go around. But there, once you start talking about, sorry,
I just like the flavor of it. Like anything that manipulates the environment. So setting fires, putting smoke, doing minefields, making rubble, all of that stuff. I don't know. It's one of those are some of the nice things that you can do in BattleTech that you can't do in a lot of tabletop or sort of tactical games, and I really enjoy it. That's literally the only reason why I chose that option.
I see. No, I mean, I guess I have kind of mixed feelings about it because, yeah, it does create like an obstruction that you either have to go around or through. I don't know. I just feel like BattleTech starts to fall apart a little bit anytime you start bringing up things like scale and realistic like material qualities. Someone was talking on Facebook about how realistic it is to have a 12-meter mech that's only 100 tons. They said it must have paper thin armor. And talking about, you know, like advanced materials and what can be accomplished and all that. But yeah, like if you compare like the dimensions of an Atlas to what the dimensions of an actual 100-ton mech are, there's some discrepancies.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like I think that the game designers they're trying to do like you don't want it to be horrendously unrealistic, and we like the game, we like the zombie robots, I like the lore, so you kind of try and buy into it and give it the benefit of the doubt. But I remember I got like getting off the train and looking at like I know it's really silly, getting off the train and looking at the I noticed some little painted signs on the bottom of one of the railway carriages, and it said 19 tons. And being me, immediately I thought, oh, so this entire railway carriage weighs as much as a locust. And it doesn't have any armor, it doesn't have any weapons, it can't run, it can carry people, but that's it, you know. So I don't know. I think it's like just ignore anything that says tons. I kind of ignore it. I get the idea. Like something that's 100 tons is bigger than something that's 50 tons. I don't mind. I don't care how much bigger.
Someone I think it was part of the same discussion I was referencing a second ago, but someone had mentioned the possibility that there is such a thing as a Star League ton, which is different from standard or English or metric ton.
See,
To,
that's the kind of thing is like, just don't worry about it. I mean, that's a really nice. I mean, I think in some games, like the old have you heard of Traveller?
heard of,
Or
but
the old
never
RPGs?
looked at really.
I think it's quite old. I've never played it, but in that, I think a ton is actually a measure of displacement or volume rather than mass.
Okay.
I think it's got a similar kind of thing. Like you design spaceships, and you have like a not like a tonnage limit, but like you know you will use the construction system. It will have a number of tons or whatever. Same sort of things. Like don't think too hard about it, especially if you know anything about spaceships. It's probably not exactly right. So I'm just looking at the movement here because I'm not sure. When we finish the game, there is something I'm doing now, which is uh, taking advantage of the mechanics. I'll discuss it. I'll talk to you about it later when we finish the game. I think there are other initiative methods that we can use which won't allow it.
Okay. Was there anything in specific that you wanted to mention? Because I know that there's
Well, it's basically the idea that I've got more units than you do,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are infantry. So when it comes to my turn, I'm choosing to move the infantry first,
Yeah.
and I should probably not do. I mean, strictly within the rules, that's fine. But it's like you've got a bunch of mechs that are close to me, and I'm really interested in where they go, and you haven't moved them yet because you haven't had to, and I'm delaying by picking an infantry unit which can only move one hex. I don't really care about.
Right.
That's somewhat exploitative, and that's something we can discuss with the initiative rules later.
Well, I mean, I'm doing the same thing with my um, foot platoons as well, so I mean, it's all fair. But yeah, there is an option that allows you to, I guess, track infantry initiatives separately from mechs and tanks, to where like all of the mechs and tanks go, and then all of the infantry goes, for example. Um, that's one thing that I had considered mentioning, but I didn't figure it was a big enough deal to really be worth bringing up. Um, I mean, the way I see it, as long as we're all playing by the same rules, we knew what we were getting into when we started this deal.
Yeah.
You know?
It's one of these things. I just want to say it because it's like I like combined arms. I like using infantry. I think it's also faction appropriate, and I don't really want to take too much advantage from that. Like the infantry itself, I think is useful and practical and does damage, but using it as like yeah, we'll go through that. We'll see what you think at the end. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even using the infantry or the initiative rules that we are using, you're still, because you do have more units on the field, you're still moving more than one unit per one of mine, which I consider to be, fair and balanced already. There's another option called front loading initiative, where normally, normally the initiative, as the ratio of unmoved units increases, as the total number of unmoved units decreases, is when it will start doing the two moves to one pattern front loading initiative changes
Yeah, I've
that to
used
where
that, yeah.
you would be moving 2 at first and then me moving 1 until we had even numbers, and then we'd go to a 1-to-1 pattern.
Yeah. See, the thing with the front loaded initiative, it's like, this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like, I've played with it, and I think it penalises. If you outnumber the opponent, but you play with front loaded initiative, it screws you over totally. So it's more like, I'd rather find a happy medium, which, some kind of flexibility and some kind of agreement in terms of how to do it without using the front loaded initiative, because I find it to be horrendously punitive.
Okay.
I'd much rather use the, like, I think, is there an option which is like infantry moves after, or move 2 infantry every time you move a mech or something? Like, I think there are other alternatives. Front loaded initiative it's a little bit over the top, I think.
Okay. There are a few options. I'm not familiar enough with all of them to be able to like list them without a reference, but yeah, we could definitely look at that next time we play.
The Thunderbolt is one of my favourite mechs. I mean, it's not very glamorous, but it's quite solid and reliable. And when I saw the number of medium lasers that were hitting it from the Warhammer, I was a little bit taken aback. And it's still there, and it's alive. You didn't fall over, so I'm very pleased with that.
Yeah, Thunderbolts are very solid mechs. I have a lot of respect for them, and even in 3025, like, they not only have heavy armor, decent mobility, and a good amount of guns, they also have the heat sinks to use pretty much all of those guns.
Yeah.
And that is a combination that you don't frequently find in 3025.
Oh yeah, I mean, they've got some long range, mid range, short range. I mean, they've also got, I think the original 3025 versions, I think the Thunderbolt has got more armor than a Warhammer, and has probably got about the same armor as a Marauder. And those are the things that, they're iconic. They're, people view them as being, they can be shot magnets when you play a game,
Yeah.
Whereas no one worries about the little poor kind of journeyman Thunderbolt at the back being his little reliable self, pottering around,
Yeah, I mean, a large laser and an LRM-15, that can pretty reliably do 20 points of damage a turn out, 10, 12, 15 hexes. And, I mean, that alone is a pretty high benchmark for a 3025 mech. And then you get in close and you add 3 medium lasers. The SRM-2, I'm less of a fan of. I feel like that's 2 tons for 4 damage. It does have uses. Like specialty ammo, I feel like. I've heard of people putting Infernos or smoke rounds into the SRM-2, but as a general rule, I'm not a huge fan of SRM-2s. I feel like you're better off with a medium laser and a heat sink.
Yeah, I mean, the SRM-2 is terrible, especially when you use a full ton of ammo and you only have one of them. The thing is that I think the way you were describing the way that you do some of these upgrades from 3025 as well, like when I look at the Thunderbolt 7M, is it 7M? Whatever the one I'm using.
That's a 7M.
As a 3050 upgrade, it's quite decent. It's got, it's got the double heat sinks, it's got ferrofibrous that uses some ER weapons, and it's got case in both torsos. When I look at some of the other mechs that I enjoy in 3025, and I look at the 3050 versions, often they have silly things added, or they don't have, they're inefficient, or they don't have case. But so, if I was doing that Thunderbolt upgrade, I probably wouldn't make it streak. I'd make it like an SRM-4. I wouldn't have so many heat sinks. I think that version has got way too many heat sinks. I don't mind mechs running hot, but I'd rather use Canon variants where they're available if they don't make me grind my teeth, you know.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at this. 9 from the medium lasers, 12 for the ER large is 21, plus 5 is 26. 27, 28 if the streak fires. It, even if it fires everything and moves its maximum, it's heat neutral. So yeah, I'd agree that's a bit oversunk. But
It's
I mean
better
that
than the 3025 version, and it's kind of a sort of a reasonably sensible upgrade. But I quite like it, you know.
yeah, no. I think if I was gonna try to use that in my campaign, the only difference I think I would make, the only change I would make to it, I think I would drop 1 heat sink for 2 more machine guns. I think is the only thing I would do, because that is definitely a solid mech as it stands right now. Right. Needing a bunch of 5s and 6s. You almost failed that first one, but everything else is 8s, 9s, 10s.
It's fine. Nothing bad can happen. It's a very sensible, competent driver.
For a second, I saw that arrow pointing at my rifleman's back. I was like, oh no, back shots. And then I was like, oh, tag. Tag doesn't do damage to my back.
And even needing 7, 6s, and 5s. Oh, sorry, 7, 6, and 9s.
I'm a little surprised that the 6 didn't hit. 6s are usually pretty reliable.
That is slightly disappointing.
12s. 10s. Either one of those hits, that's gonna be nasty. Sixes. I'm starting to feel a little bad for your Wolverine. He is really making himself a target this turn.
He's fine. He's fine. He's very confident. He's a very well-trained scout pilot. He never gets himself into trouble. Not much.
Until he tries to go toe-to-toe with a stalker.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still working on mine. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just I try to my movement. Like the Apollo is basically, like you said earlier, it's a mini Archer. It's a very it's like a trebuchet. It's kind of a very cheap and cheerful airline platform. But I don't think it really enjoys being standing very close to a rifleman.
No, especially not a rifleman based on the 3C variant with the autocannon 10s, which don't have a minimum range.
I really like the LB-10X.
Oh, I'm a huge fan. It is absolutely a direct upgrade of the autocannon 10. I would have to go on record with saying that the LB-10X is probably, in my opinion, the best autocannon there is that I'm aware of.
Yeah. It's got a lot of utility and flexibility, and it's very good anti-air. Like if we were using VTOLs,
yeah,
it would be amazing. I think the Ultra AC5 is decent as well, but it just does damage. Whereas, like, you get around the side of a heavy tank and you hit it with an LB-10X, it's not very happy about that.
Oh, especially hover tanks. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cluster ammunition is the best against hover tanks.
Yeah.
But even without the cluster ammunition, it's the damage of an autocannon 10, the range of an autocannon 5, 2 points of heat, and it weighs less than an autocannon 10. It's like, what's not to love about it?
Yeah. I think in terms of raw efficiency, it's not as good as energy weapons during this era with double heat sinks. But the thing is that it's not terrible. And you look at all the old autocannons, and AC5s, AC10s don't quite cut it when you hit 30-50.
Now, hold on. With double heat sinks, standard PPC weighs 7 tons and requires 5 tons worth of heat sinks to counteract the 10 points of heat it generates. So that's a total of 12. LB-10X weighs 11 tons and generates 2 points of heat, which is also a 12-ton investment. So, I mean, it's right there.
But it needs probably 2 tons of ammo.
True.
And, you like bracket firers by the looks of it. Like, you like having some medium lasers as a backup, volley when you get close. Whereas if your tonnage is taken up by the LB-10X, I like the LB-10X, but if you have a PPC, you can also have a few medium lasers and swap, which will be better. The combination of those will be better than just having the LB-10, arguably.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I won't always take the LB-10. I don't want to, I think they're cool too. But
well, if I have an autocannon 10, or I should say an LB-10X, a PPC, and some medium lasers, but not quite enough heat sinks to use all of them, the PPC is definitely going to be the one that I'm most hesitant to fire in that situation. The autocannon and the medium lasers are just more efficient damage per heat as long as they're within range.
Yeah.
Alright, so my Demolisher landed a hit on your Wolverine to the leg, leaving it with 2 structure. We'll see how that plays out. I wasn't actually expecting to hit with either of those autocannon 20s. I'm kind of happy for that. Your Achilles hitting my Panther for 2 to the right torso. Your Marauder hitting my Rifleman for 18 total to the left arm and leg. My Saladin killed Trooper 1 from your Phalanx Battle Armor. Your Orion at the Panther on 11s and the Stalker on 7s, only landing 2 medium lasers to the right arm and left torso. Savannah Master at your Wolverine to the right torso, leaving him with 6 armor. Thunderbolt, hitting the MegaMek with 6 LRMs to the left arm, and a medium laser to the left, to the Stalker's left arm, and a medium laser to the Stalker's center torso, and an SRM to the left torso. And honestly, I can't tell just looking at that. There are 3 double heat sinks in that left torso, so you might have hit each one of them once and cost me 3 heat sinks, or you might have hit the same one 3 times and cost me 1 heat sink. We'll see.
That's really interesting. It'd be interesting to find. It didn't have any criticals there before, did it?
No, that was a through armor crit and basically an undamaged mech.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling it up and looking at the crit chart, and yeah, I've got 9 crits worth of double heat sinks there. So I don't know if I'm gonna be down, or if I'm gonna build up an extra.
You probably lost 1 or 2. You probably lost 1 or 2.
Mathematically speaking, I'm thinking odds are I lost 2, but it could have been 1. It could have been all 3. We'll see. Your Wolverine at my Stalker, hitting the center torso rear with a large laser, hitting the head with an SRM. Also right and center torso rears with more SRMs, medium pulse laser to the left arm. So I need to be a little more careful about letting things get behind me there. MegaMek on the Thunderbolt, hitting for 15 to the left leg and center torso. The Apollo at the Stalker, missing on 8s and 7s, 7s at the Rifleman, hits for 3 to the center torso, and hits Trooper 1. See,
oh God.
It won't let, like, I legitimately tried to target this battle armor unit that was just swarming my Rifleman, and it wouldn't let me. It said, this battle armor unit is swarming a unit, cannot be targeted. You're doing the work for me.
I am. Especially considering that as they don't actually carry any weapons, they're a tag unit. They can't do any damage from swarming.
Oh, no kidding.
So I shouldn't be doing it. But never mind, we won't worry about it.
We live and we learn. Phalanx battle armor, firing auto rifles and Gauss rifles at my Saladin, doing some damage to the front. It was already immobile. Other MegaMek, missing the Thunderbolt with his autocannon 10, but tagging him in the left leg with a medium laser. Saladin taking more damage to the right side and rear, dying by fuel explosion. Support laser infantry at the Stalker, hitting for 10 points, mostly to the arms and torsos. And then 6 more damage to the arms and torso, down to 7 armor on that right arm. And then 10 more damage, hitting it in the head, blacking out my pilot on a 5. Rolled a 3. That Stalker is going to be on a world of hurt now. Next platoon misses with a...
He deserves it for being so rude to the Wolverine.
I was going to kick you this turn too.
So rude.
More infantry shooting up the dead Saladin. This is acceptable, I suppose. I'll let you waste your firepower. 10 more points to the Stalker, to the torso, leg, and arm. Panther on the Wolverine, destroying the left arm and transferring into the left torso, following that up with some SRMs to the left torso and left leg, going internal but no crits. Rifleman, doing his full 30 damage to the Apollo, to the leg and center torso. 4 hits, 2 locations. Interesting. The Griffin at your Marauder, glancing blow to the right arm, transferring into the right torso, leaving 13 armor there. And the Stalker at the Thunderbolt, 8 to the right leg, 5 to the right arm, leaving 0. And then 7 SRMs, looks like mostly the left and right torso, but a little bit to the leg, the arms, etc. And knocking down the Thunderbolt, critting out its large laser, taking 2 damage to the head, forcing 2 consciousness checks, both of which are successful, but only just. And then the Wolverine needing a 7, getting a 5. Taking 5 to the left torso, critting out his SRM, and 1 to the leg, critting his actuator. Apollo needs a 6 and falls, takes 6 damage to the left torso. Stalker goes down automatically, 5 to the chest, 4 to the left leg, and he now will need a 7 to wake up. Alright, things are getting interesting. Kick the Apollo on a 3, yes, I think I shall. Ost Scout punching the Griffin on 12s and missing. Rifleman kicks the Apollo in the left torso, going internal. Heavy tracked APC charged the Stalker for 4 damage. Or no, for 9 to the left arm, stripping it down to 0 and only taking 4 to its own front in return. Stalker is displaced, violating stacking with the Wolverine. Wolverine is unable to step out of the domino effect. Wolverine is displaced. Heavy tracked APC is displaced. That domino effect can do some crazy things. I'm a little surprised that no one fell down from that or anything.
I think that's all kind of clear terrain by there. It shouldn't be too bad.
I thought the rule was anytime anyone is displaced forcefully, they have to make a piloting check, but I guess I was wrong about that.
I thought so as well. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not as punitive. I mean, like getting hit by a ram and getting kicked and all, or charged. There are checks associated. But yeah, I don't know. We check that at the end. That'd be interesting.
I just think it's funny that Wolverine or the Stalker during the weapons fire phase took a head hit, went unconscious, fell down, and then got charged and displaced by an APC. Like how much does that APC weigh? Like 15, 20, 30 tons? And just
20 tons? Although it charged earlier. I mean, it's more the damage. But I'm not sure why it would get displaced normally, because you can stacking limits. You can have a vehicle and a mech in the same hex.
Right.
I'm sure there's some kind of logical way that it works. I'm not sure what else is in the hex, so yeah, I don't know.
I was just laughing at how ludicrous I would consider it that a 20-ton vehicle charging an 85-ton mech that is prone and lying there, dead weight, and able to move it a full 30 meters. I just thought
yeah, I mean, he hit him first and effectively in the movement phase.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't have to make sense. Alright. Going into round 7, you have won the initiative, and also you're doing quite a lot better regarding percentage of BV remaining. You're at almost 80%, I'm down to 66%. So this is not a situation I'm used to being in. And I think good for the end of this round, but I think after this round it's about time for me to start wrapping it up for the night. Alright, so you've taken out my Warhammer. My Stalker is not guaranteed to wake up at the end of this round. I've still got a couple of lights, Rifleman, the Griffin, and a couple of tanks. Yeah, things are starting to look a little sketchy for the Bulldogs. I feel like the urban mechs and the demolisher really don't have any business trying to head south out of the cover and try to close with your main force at this point.
It's totally fine. It's really safe.
Has not moved yet. Okay, he's Alright, let me hold off on that. 6.
It is interesting. Like tactically, this has not gone remotely close to what I wanted. I wanted to keep range. I think I have a mild range advantage. I didn't want to get into medium laser duels at close range. So
well, I was trying to maintain something of a range advantage with the PPCs and the LB10X, which have the 6 hex range. But yeah, I'm really light on anything with more than 6 hexes. So I would agree that you have a bit of a range advantage with all the ER large lasers.
and LRMs.
And the LRMs, yes. So theoretically, being this close should be advantageous to me more so than you, but it does not feel that way at the moment. Kind of feels like I'm getting my butt kicked a little bit.
I mean, there's been a fair amount of infantry damage. I don't know, what's your anti-infantry situation?
Mostly lasers. Yeah, I don't think I actually have any machine guns or flamers in this entire team, and only a handful of even of small lasers now that the Warhammer is down. So yeah, it looks like medium lasers are what I've got for anti-infantry right now.
One thing to remember is that I think FRMs and I think SRMs both have fragmentation ammo options for anti-infantry, which work really well. They're also very good for clearing forest hexes too.
Interesting. See, when I'm playing against Princess, I don't usually consider infantry to be enough of a threat to like have to modify my tactics to work around. Usually I just, against Princess, I just take out all the big stuff and then just take my time, and range advantage taking out the infantry, but that is clearly not going to work in this situation. kind of hoping you would move it before now.
I don't want to.
Well, I don't blame you. I don't think it's a great move, but it might have been the best one I had. Oh, that is not what I thought your Marauder was about to do. I was not expecting him to fall back. Wolverine.
Well, I sort of moved him backwards a bit.
A little bit.
I think.
Oh, you need to hit on that like a 5, 4, 3. Wow. Alright, Stalker has been tagged twice. Urban Mech. Glancing Blow still counts as a hit, I guess. Rifleman tagged 3 times, 4 times with the Off Scout. Okay, so we've got 8s, we've got 11s, we've got 6s. Oh, well, I did that in the wrong order. Alright. The Achilles on my Rifleman needs a 5, gets a 3. The Urban Mech on your Thunderbolt hits for 10 to the left leg, going internal. Your Marauder on my Rifleman hits 8 to the center torso and 8 pellets from the LBX, scattering around, hitting one of your own dudes, hitting me in the head, hitting literally everything. Leg, torso, torso, head, leg, arm, arm, torso. And missing with the pulse laser on a 12. Other Urban Mech on the Thunderbolt, 10 to the left arm, leaving you with 5 there. Your Orion on my Rifleman, 10 to the center torso, leaving me with 6. And 4 SRMs, the first one of which kills your own dude, but then does transfer a point of damage to the right torso, looks like. To 4 to the center torso, leaving me with 2 armor there. Medium laser to the left arm, leaving me with 4 armor there. 12 LRMs to the center torso, right arm, and left arm, going internal on that arm. Panther on the Thunderbolt, hitting with a PPC to the left torso and an SRM to the right leg. Thunderbolt at the Stalker, misses on a 6, but does hit with, looks like just about everything else. Medium lasers. Oh, you were aiming for the center torso?
Yeah, because it's immobile. So I think the way that works is that you get the option to choose to specify a location,
right?
And then it would be like a dice roll of like is it 6, 7, or 8?
Mm-hmm.
And if you roll that first, you hit what you're aiming at. And if you don't, then you roll randomly. It only works with immobile targets, so heat shut down, pilot being knocked out, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm just. I was a little surprised that you were going for the center torso and not the head.
There's a penalty with the head. There's no penalty with anywhere else, but there's a penalty if you go to the head.
Right, with when you're shooting.
I'm trying to sandpaper down the center torso so I can finish it before he wakes up, hopefully.
Right. And I know that headshots are a lot more difficult because you don't get the -4 bonus for an immobile target. Instead, you take a +3 penalty for trying to make a headshot. And there's the same 6, 7, 8 roll that you have to make to actually hit the head. But you only have to hit it once or twice. He's already got 3 wounds on him. A 4th wound, he wouldn't be waking up until he rolled a 10 or better. That's just what I would do.
Yeah, possibly. I'd rather just sandpaper down the center torso and just finish it off. I mean, I'd rather go for predictability. But again, it's a personal choice. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, honestly, you've already got my center torso down to 11 armor, so I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just usually when I have an opponent who is gone unconscious or otherwise immobile, and they've already taken, 2 or 3 knocks to the head, and they're looking to make a 7-up consciousness check, I'm going to try to make that 7 into a 10 is how I usually play it. Let's see, your Wolverine on my Rifleman, hitting with large laser to the right arm, medium pulses to the right torso and center torso, critting on the engine. Good thing that thing has double heat sinks. I almost didn't, but then I was like, it's not actually any more points, so I might as well. And I'm glad I did. Demolisher landing one of his cannons on your Thunderbolt center torso, leaving 3 armor. Phalanx missing on 7s and 9s, Phalanx missing on 7s and 11s, APC missing on 10s, other one missing on 9s, support lasers at the Stalker for 14 damage to the center torso, down to 3 armor, right arm down to 3 armor. My Rifleman at the Apollo, 10 points to the right arm, 10 points to the center torso, 5 points to each arm, leaving 3 armor there. Next support laser platoon at my Rifleman, right leg critical, center torso critical, killed Trooper 2.
We won't talk about that.
2 to the right torso, 2 to the left arm, leaving 2 armor there. Next one at the stalker, hitting the center torso, going internal, critting the engine and the gyro twice. Yeah, he's not standing back up. So it looks like the center torso was not a bad choice after all. Missing the rifleman on a 5, missing the Savannah Master on an 8. Hitting the stalker some more, left arm, center torso, left torso, right arm down to 0 armor. And my Griffin hitting your Apollo in the leg for 3 points with LRMs. Thunderbolt rolls Snake Eyes on his piloting check, takes 5 to the arm and 2 to the leg, going internal. Needs a 7 to avoid damage, needs a 10 to stay conscious, and he's probably not waking up soon. Apollo needs a 6, gets a 4, takes 5 to the leg and 1 to the torso. Needs a 6 to avoid damage and a 5 to stay conscious. Oh, there's more. Rifleman took 60 points of damage, falls on its rear. 5 to the left arm, 1 to the center torso, which hits one of your guys instead. Needs an 8 to avoid damage, needs a 5 to stay conscious, and fails both of those. Achilles light battle armor is dislodged and suffers 2d6 damage. Takes 5 damage to Trooper 3, who is dead. Well, yeah, having a rifleman land on you will do that. No. I have no physical attacks to make, because all my dudes are... Orion kicks the rifleman in the center torso for 15, destroying it. And the automatic ejection kills the pilot. And you crit the engine and gyro. Wolverine kicks the rifleman in the arm and blows that off as well. Yeah, there's not much left of that rifleman at this point. And my stalker stays unconscious. Needs a 7, gets a 4. Can't even prop and shoot next turn. For shame. Alright. Going into round 8. Is this where you want to save it?
Yeah, I'll save that now. I'll save that.
Okay, I will also save locally. We're gonna call that versus Gribbly is EY?
Just one. I mean, I tend to use that name on most servers, although if it's taken, I'll add EY. So I think like
Okay.
for online, it might be EY.
Okay. I just didn't want to misspell it in the save file name, and I guess if they're both acceptable, there is no misspelling it. All right. So
Sure. I mean, if you see a Gribbly, it's probably me.
yeah, it doesn't seem like a super common
Unless they're
name.
behaving totally unacceptably, in which case it's definitely not me at all.
Yeah. All right. So this is where we're gonna wrap it up. We both saved the game, so we should be able to recover it. You want to pick this up, say around... well, I guess what time did we start playing today? We've been going at it for close to 3 hours now.
Yep.
It's almost 10 o'clock my time, so I guess that means we started at around 7. You want to do the same thing tomorrow? Start after dinner time for me? Speaking of which,
Sure.
I know your time zone is wildly different from mine, but so it's early morning for you right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how that figures into your sleep schedule or anything. Is this like, do you work nights, or is it okay for you to be up this late regularly? Or?
This not regularly. This week, well, the next couple of days is fine. I think we're probably pretty close to finishing the game anyway, so might not be a massive issue.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm about down to 50% of my forces. If you can contest that objective I'm holding on to up there, that would be a win for you as soon as you did that. The only thing is, there's a Demolisher, a Panther, and 2 Urban Mechs between you and doing that. And the Urban Mechs and the Panther,
Yeah,
I'm not too
look,
worried about. But... What?
Yeah, I'm holding my objective, which is half as well. So I just need to bring you below 50%, as long as you don't contest mine.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
Stalker's immobile, Rifleman's destroyed, Warhammer's destroyed. Hold on, let me check my list. I think that's...
Your save game, did you save on the server? Because I think I've got that save game on my computer. You might want to save it locally.
I thought I had.
I've got a file in my save game folder called versus Gribbly. So
that is very weird because I'm looking at it in my file structure. It's in my save games.
Okay, in which case, no problem. Yeah.
Well.
So we have the save game, so I can close, disconnect.
All right. Let's see. I can disconnected from the server. All good. All set. All right. And for everyone watching along at home, this will probably be continued in the next video. Probably be up pretty much immediately. But for me and Gribbly, we're gonna give it a break and pick this up tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep, thanks for the game. That was good fun. I enjoyed that.
Absolutely, anytime. Yeah, it's definitely been fun. I'm really enjoying playing against like an actual person. It definitely hits different than just fighting against Princess.
Yeah. I mean, I do all right sometimes, but I hope I do slightly better than Princess. No, not to disparage Princess, but an AI is not. It's probably not quite there.
Yeah, AI is a bit generous for Princess. It's an algorithm, I would say, not quite intelligent. All right, let me wrap this up and good night, everybody.